So here it goes. My life story up till now, I guess. I can't say I'm too dreadfully different from you or your friends, to be honest. I was born into a conservative Christian household. You know the type. No gays, no sex before marriage, and absolutely nothing even alluding to anything related to either of the first two. Dad, ironically, had a drinking problem due to the death of his first baby with his high school girlfriend, and mom had borderline personality disorder. So the emotions of the house were always amplified and pointed towards me and my older sister. In the end, both me and my sister had to find our respective coping mechanisms just to make it through the day, then the week, and so forth in our own home. She started with weed, then slowly worked her way up to heroin and ketamine, while I just slowly started to lose feeling in general. I think you'd honestly call it disassociation or something like that. I couldn't say for sure since I've never seen anyone with that condition really. Well, anyways, back to the story, I guess. My sister started maturing and got into one failed relationship after another, and I began to develop a few fetishes, which I'm not too proud of looking back now. It honestly started out pretty simple as masochism. When you can't feel much, you kind of get this itch for feeling. Pain kind of becomes enjoyable to you. Then after a few relationships, I realized everyone just enjoys pain. The world actually revolves around pain. You may not realize it yet, but your entire life will circle around pain. Most people fear death. They would do anything and everything to actually avoid it, in fact. Yet everyone still dies. And everyone lives a life devoid of meaning and full of suffering. I've never seen a relationship that fully works. Everyone fights, people get sick, and people get hurt, yet they keep on living. Why is that? Simple. Because they love pain. I realized this at 16, and it's only been uphill from there. I figured out the only real way to truly find fulfillment in life is through pain, and you better believe I'm going to spread my message to the masses, one person at a time. Having the idea and now ready for the delivery, I started simple. The homeless. Who who easier to convert than them? I simply offer most a drink and they happily come home with me. I mean sure the drink has a bit of ketamine in it, but what's the harm? I, of course, drive them home to my cellar for the conversion process. For the conversion, I use a certain plant said to be absolutely wonderful to touch. You kind of feel like you're being burned and electrocuted at the same time. Of course, I had to try it. It lasts for quite some time. We're talking months untreated. So, what better way to show the beauty of pain than that? As for the conversion itself, it's a simple enough process. You start out by waiting for the ketamine to wear off, then simply pricking them with the plant and repeat this process until their eyes fade into ecstasy. At that point, you can know for certain that they're ready, and at that point, their life is completely fulfilled. They are a true believer in pain. Sadly, The body often gives out around this point, and when it doesn't, they usually bite their tongue and fade away in silence slowly. After all, there's no point in living after your life has been fulfilled to that degree. If it wasn't for my message, I'd love to join them. But someone must share the secrets of true fulfillment. Speaking of, I'm thinking of moving on soon. Maybe to addicts. Truly troubled souls begging for a true high that won't let them down. After all, who needs more fulfillment than them? This thing happened a long time ago. I am now a senior in high school, about to leave town to head back to my home country. I live in an Arabian area, so I'm mostly surrounded by ghost stories, or as we like to call it, jinn stories, which are actual real creatures that live among us without us seeing them. So I'm really used to the concept, and to be honest, they're actually pretty fun to me now. But when I was younger, they were one of my greatest fears besides the darkness itself. I still fear them to this day at the same time, to be honest, maybe more as I've grown up. I was 7 when my family and I moved from my birth country to America. And it was like a big challenge to me since my parents couldn't register me or my 3-year-old sister at school for some reason. So we had to stay and study at home for a whole year, which wasn't horrible besides the fact of not getting to be around kids my own age. But it was one summer night in 2008 that changed the way I thought, all the way around. My dad used to come and check on me, my sister, and baby brother before going to sleep at 2 a.m. after work, which was around the time I usually got up to go to the toilet or be thirsty for a glass of water. So he would always help me to get up and leave the bed or hand me a drink before sending me back to sleep. That night, I woke up at the same time after midnight. My bed has always faced our bedroom door, which my parents always left open to make sure they could hear us if we called out for them for any purpose. It was around 2 or 3 a.m. I don't actually remember the time, but after I got up to go to the bathroom, I saw my father's shadow at the end of the hallway. I almost called out for him when I noticed that my father isn't there. Instead of what I thought was my father, I saw a huge, tall, black figure disappear into the darkness despite how the hallway was lit up. I ran back into my room, hopped in bed, and went under my covers in terror. I lied still under the sheets when I started to hear footsteps coming towards my bedroom door. I peeked out to observe the figure as it was approaching the door, then just stood there, still as can be. I knew it was watching me, even though no eyes were seen in the black mass. It stood still for about 5 minutes before heading off down the hallway towards the kitchen in the opposite direction. I don't remember sleeping again that night. It was a blur to me. I don't remember telling any of my family members about what happened either. I just remember one thing. It's featureless, black, pitch black face staring into my soul, haunting my nightmares, keeping me restless. Years after that, we moved from that house to another one on the same street. But while we were moving, my mom went to one of our neighbors' houses to check on them before leaving. Our neighbor told her that the house we left was haunted and we should have never even gone inside of it, let alone stay as long as we did. She said it was owned by evil ones and that if we hadn't left it, they would have probably killed me or one of my siblings by haunting us to death, making us regret the time we decided to live in that cursed place. It still haunts me, giving me chills every time I remember it. And that's what I feel right now, to be honest. But just a warning. If you ever feel some paranormal activity at your house, leave it immediately. Don't think you're crazy. Don't think you're overreacting. And don't let anyone talk you out of it. Ready or not, here I come, I said in a loud voice, making sure he heard me. I swiftly checked every little crevice and space from top to bottom. From the kitchen where my mother was cooking breakfast to the second story where all the unique rooms were built. The house was fairly new, so I might have missed some tiny spaces, but I didn't worry at all since my little brother wasn't very good at the game anyways. I was in my mother's room, a simple room with a beautiful view. As I was checking under her bed, I heard a loud thump from the closet. With a smirk, I walked up to it. I then put my hands on the handles, which were strangely hot, but not to the point of painful. Slowly, I opened it. Suddenly, I jolted up in my bed. Just another nightmare. I was shaken and unnerved, a bit scared and paranoid as I scanned my surroundings. I don't know why, but as I looked around, everything seemed off. Maybe because I was scared. I had just moved into this house, so I wasn't going to let a simple nightmare get the better of me. It was a simple room, just how I like it. I checked my clock, which read 2 a.m., which made me groan as I hated waking up early. Well, I knew I wasn't going back to sleep, so I might as well get dressed for work. I thought about how boring my life was as I got up. The same pattern of taking a shower, going to work, and going to sleep over and over again. I needed something to lift my spirits. I have always thought about getting a pet. Maybe today would be that day. I worked as a technician. Really boring job, but it paid well. After work, I passed the pet shop. I saw all the happy faces walking out with bunnies, dogs, cats, etc. While looking around the shop, I came across a puppy and instantly decided to get it. His name I didn't decide on yet. He was a beautiful golden retriever with fur that glittered in the sunlight and was unbelievably cute. Happy with my purchase, I walked home and he licked my hands the whole way. And I was surprised he ate like a hippo. I fell asleep on my bed with him curled up right next to me. Falling into a deep sleep, I had a different nightmare with an all too familiar creature from my childhood. The one in the closet, Mr. Smiley. His huge, crooked grin reached ear to ear with a blood-stained mouth. He had short, needle-like yellow teeth, slits for a nose, and two tiny little black beads for eyes. He walked on all fours and had a horrible, pale greenish body. As the nightmare started, he smiled at me while making these horrible clicking noises. I watched in horror as he looked at my dog. He leaned in closer and took a huge bite out of its neck. Mr. Smiley's face started distorting. I woke up sweating. Terrified, I looked at my dog. It was dead. I hadn't even thought of a name for him. I was heartbroken. I broke down crying for a few hours. In the morning, I buried him, built a small grave and laid some flowers. Horrified of what he would do to me, I drove to my childhood home where I first met him. It was a long drive, but I wanted to face my fears. He had to be a figment of my imagination. I was not a believer of ghosts, so I thought rationally. I parked and walked up to the familiar tall gate doors. They opened as if they were beckoning me inside. It was overgrown by plants and no electricity. I walked in, kicking the doors open. It was pitch black, absolute darkness. I stood for a moment until giant, heavy footsteps started walking towards me, but I couldn't see anything. I clicked on a lighter that I found in my pocket, but it only lit my way so much. I heard a sound from behind me, turned quickly to find a note on the ground. I approached it to see it was written in my little brother's handwriting with a bloody fingerprint at the bottom. It simply said, "Ready or not, here I come." My lighter went out all of a sudden, and I couldn't relight it. A little while after that, I heard approaching loud footsteps again, and that clicking noise, that damn clicking noise he would make. I booked it upstairs as that noise followed behind me, getting closer, then falling back, before getting closer again. I hid in a random closet. A sudden loud thump was heard and the lighter relit itself, only for me to see my little brother's head severed clean off, as I had seen it that fateful day when I opened the closet. The closet doors opened violently to Mr. Smiley. Its face was hideous. It came closer to me, smiling that same toothy grin. I blinked, and when I opened my eyes, everything was pitch black. Now all I can think to say is, come with me. Come with us. We want you here. The smiling man will come for you, and he will take you here. It's nice here.